The first idea we need to be comfortable with is finding percentages of amounts. The method that I recommend you use will depend on whether you have a calculator allowed or not. If you do have a calculator with you, then when we want to find 20% of 600, we think of that of word as meaning times, and then we just type the calculation into our calculators. So we can type 20 and then the percentage button times 600. And when we type that in, we should get 120. You could also type this in the other way around if you prefer, so 600 times and then 20 percentage button, and you'll also get 120. Or some people prefer to turn the 20% into a decimal first, and that's also fine. So you could type something like 600 times 0.2 for 20%, and that will also give you 120. Any of these options, totally fine. If you don't have a calculator with you, so if you're in the non-calculator paper, then my preferred method of finding a percentage of an amount is using the 10% method. So what you do here is you first find 10% of 600, and to do that, you just divide 600 by 10, so that would be 60. And then you think about how to get to 20%. If we think about it, 10% times 2 equals 20%. So all we need to do is times that 60 by 2 as well, and that will give us 120. So just to recap on that 10%, I found that by dividing 600 by 10. These two methods work for more complicated numbers as well. So let's say we wanted to find 45% of 820. With a calculator, we're just going to type that in. So 820 times 45%, and it will give us the answer straight away to be 369. Without a calculator, we can do the 10% method again. So 10% of 820. Again, dividing 820 by 10 gives 82. And then working our way up to 45%. For example, you could find 40% by timesing your answer by 4, and that would give 328. And then to find 5%, you can take your original 10% and this time divide it by 2. So let's divide 82 by 2 to give 41. And then taking the pieces we need, so we need the 40% and the 5%, this one and this one, and then just adding them together. So 45% will be 328 plus 41, which gives 369 as well. The next idea is finding x as a percentage of y. So for example, let's say we wanted to express 52p as a percentage of 80p. To do that, you take your 52 and you make it as a fraction over 80. You then multiply that fraction by 100. Let's say we were doing this in a non-calculator paper. So let's work this out. I would start by simplifying that fraction, 52 over 80. I would divide the top and bottom by 2 to get 26 over 40, then maybe by 2 again to get 13 over 20. And then a trick you can use is make that fraction over 100. So times the top and bottom by 5 in this case. 13 times 5 is 65. So that means when we go and put that in the above calculation, we get 65 over 100 times 100. And that way, when you're dividing by 100 and then timesing by 100, you're effectively cancelling that 100 out and you end up with just 65 or 65% as the final answer. Let's have a look at this example. So Amelia and Sophie did a test. The total for the test was 75 marks. Amelia got 56% of the 75 marks. Sophie got 43 out of 75. Who got the highest mark? You must show all your working. So there's different ways of doing this, but for me, I would take the 43 out of 75 score that Sophie got, and I would turn that into a percentage. So in the calculator, I would do 43 out of 75 or 43 over 75 times 100. Just typing that in would give you 57.3 recurring. So that's roughly 57.3%. Now we can compare Sophie and Amelia's scores more easily. And Sophie got 57.3%, whereas Amelia got 56%. So Sophie got the highest mark. Next idea is finding percentage change or percentage profit. These two ideas are really similar, so I've put them on the same page here. We'll have a look at an example of both. So starting with percentage change, that equals change divided by original times by 100. In this example, it says last year Jerry's council tax bill was £1,815. This year she has to pay £1,906 for her council tax. Work out the percentage increase in her council tax bill. Give your answer to one decimal place. So percentage increase, that's a percentage change because it's increasing. Therefore, we can use the formula here. Let's work out the change first. So what was the increase? Let's do 1,906 take away 1,815, and that's an increase or a change of £91. And then if we use the formula, so percentage change equals that change 91 over the original amount. So her original payment was 1,815 times by 100, and that gives 5.01377, etc. They want the answer to one decimal place, so that would be roughly 5.0%. This example is an example of percentage profit. So Emma buys a house for £201,500. She sells the house for £213,590. Calculate the percentage profit that Emma makes. So let's use this formula here. Let's work out her profit first. So that's the amount of money she made from selling her house. So that will be 213,590 take away 201,500, and that is £12,090. Percentage profit, therefore, is that profit, so 12,090, divided by the original, and in this case, the original cost of the house, so 201,500, times by 100, and we get 6%. Next idea is finding a new amount after a percentage change, and I'll show you two methods for this question. So Gary buys a dress in a sale. The normal price of the dress is reduced by 20%. The normal price is £36.80. Work out the sale price of the dress. Method 1, you work out 20% of £36.80 using the methods that we saw earlier to get £7.36. And then you just take that off the normal price of the dress, £36.80, take away that reduction of 20%, so take away £7.36, and the sale price of the dress, therefore, is £29.44. Method 2, you might prefer to think about it like this. So starting with 100%, which is the original or normal price of the dress, there's a 20% reduction in the sale, so that percentage reduces to 80%. And then you can find 80% of £36.80, again using one of the methods we saw earlier, and then that would be £29.44 as well. Next idea, finding the original amount before a percentage change. So this question says, in a sale, the normal price of a TV is reduced by 20%. The sale price of the TV is £660. Work out the normal price. So work out the price before this sale happened. My preferred method for these kind of questions is to always think about the original or normal amount as being 100%. Then think about what's happening. So in this case, there's a 20% reduction, meaning we're left with 80%. We're told that the sale price of the TV is £660. So that 80% that we're left with is worth £660. Now we need to work backwards to work out what the 100% is, so what the original or normal price is. To do that, I like to work out 1% first, by just dividing by 80 in this case, and that would give £8.25. And then to get up to 100%, we just need to times by 100, and that would give us £825. So that is the original or normal price of the TV. Last idea, working with simple interest. So Phil invests £800 for 3 years in a bank account. The account pays simple interest at rate of 2% per year. Work out the total amount of interest Phil has got at the end of 3 years. So simple interest, 2% per year, just means you get 2% of your investment every year. He's investing that money for 3 years, so we'll do 16 times 3 to get £48 total interest. And that's the answer. If they did ask for the new total amount of money that Phil has altogether, so including his original investment, that would be 800 plus the 48. He would have £848 in his account altogether. So that would be the total amount of money. But in this case, they just wanted to know the total interest, so £48 would be the answer. That's it for now. If you found this video useful, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And do share this with anyone else that you think might find it helpful. Thanks, and see you next time.